have Myron Molotky, the president of the XFC promotion, back on the show. And XFC 44 is in the books now, Myron, and it looked like it went off pretty darn well with some fantastic fights. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Ryan, for having me back on.
Yeah, geez, I just talked to you last week, and I'm happy to have you back on so soon because I watched the whole card, both cards. It was really a fantastic night of fights. You know, looking back on this event now, how pleased are you with the progression of the promotion from one card to the next?
You know, it just keeps building. We're identifying more and more fighters, and we've seen a few fighters that have entered the hexagon now a couple times, and just excited to keep them moving that way. You know, the key is with our roster, we want to keep the fighters busy, right? We don't want to one off and off they go and, you know, don't get any attention. So what we're really trying to do is the kids that go in there, they perform. The fans want to see them again. We certainly want to see them again. So, you know, we're excited about the progression there. We've added HBO, as you probably know by now. So, you know, the next event will be stacked with all the Fox Sports entities, HBO, and of course our broadcasters on a global basis.
Wow, that's really fantastic. And you did mention to me before we started this interview here that there were a couple minor issues that you want to just improve on for the next one. Is that something you can elaborate on a little bit?
Yeah, you know, it was frustrating, I think, for everyone involved, especially our talent behind the desk and our production team. They had some technical issues that needed to be ironed out. Unfortunately, our goal is to always have the best production in the space, in MMA space, and we've proven to have that. And this last one, a little sketchy, I guess, on the sound was a little bit off, and maybe some camera angles, things like that. But you know, it's a learning curve. It's something that we're going to improve on and keep pushing through with.
Yeah, well, I can speak for, I'm sure, a lot of the other MMA fans out there, and we're all very happy with the product that you're continuing to put out each event. Let's dive right in. Let's start with XFC 44, the main event. My guy, Andre Sukumtad, didn't get the job done, but, you know, you got to tip your cap to Jose Alberto Quinones. Really great performance, got the UD win. Elaborate on that win and, you know, what you'd like to see next for him.
Well, you know, Andre has so many fans, and I think no one's more disappointed in Andre than Andre. And not that his performance was, you know, just un-Andre-like, I guess, but we expected maybe a little different fight, as did Andre. Quinones, very intelligent fighter in there. Great kid, by the way. You know, when he arrived, he had the big, he walked in, the big pop-up banner with a full-size Jose Quinones sign as soon as he walked in the hotel, and he was like a kid in a candy store the whole weekend, which was great. But you know, to get back to the fight, he fought a very intelligent fight against Andre. That's probably the way to get after Andre if you're just looking for a win. Andre, of course, wants to provide the fireworks and explosiveness that he's known for, and he got wrapped up pretty hard. So
I think it's safe to say that this is probably going to just light a fire under Andre to come back even better for the next time around. Am I right?
yeah, there's no doubt about it. You know, I think I love the dynamic makeup of the family, because I think probably the most upset person in there was his wife, Jamie. And, you know, what's great about that family, there's no excuses. They know that they're going to get back to work. They're you know, training in a great facility at top team down in Florida. Great coaches. I had great cornermen. It was just one of those nights, I guess. But you can't take away anything from Jose. He went out, he performed, he got the win, and we were very happy to have him inside the hexagon.
Yeah, well, again, tip of the cap to Jose. Great win. Can you give us a name that might be at the tip of your tongue to, you know, who these guys might be matched up with next? Are you even at that point yet?
You know, the lineup is so long right now of especially when we get into that weight class, fighters that want to be a part of the XFC. So, you know, I don't think that I have a specific name of who they're going to see next inside the hexagon. We've got a couple events coming up. We're going to be August. We're changing it up. We're coming to Michigan, and we're going to just absolutely blow the roof off here in West Michigan with so many Michigan fighters that have found success. But then after that, we're going to Cancun. So, Quinones, his home territory. Andre, I'm sure he wants to go bask in the sun a little bit after putting on a great show in the Hexagon in Cancun. So we'll see what happens.
So what happened to Augusta? Because I believe that was the original planned destination for 45.
We looked at Augusta, and one of the things, Ryan, and we've talked about it in the past, it has to be a good fit, and things have to work out from the venue, the commission, the COVID, everything going on with that. And there's just some question marks right there that, can't be answered in a timely basis. So we just have to make the decision to do what's best for the organization, for the fighters, and for the fans.
You ever thought about coming to New England? I know the fans up in my area would love to see you guys up here.
I'm not even sure how things are in New England right now. I know that I had a kid in college up in New York and one in Virginia at prep school there. And, to be honest with you, the goal is to get to New England for sure. We've got a lot of fans up there. Nick Newell is a fighter that's been inside the Hexagon in the past, and we're going to definitely be doing a tryout right at his gym. So I think New England's going to be on the radar. That's for sure.
Okay, that's fantastic. That's music to my ears. I love to hear it. Let's talk about that co-main event. I just finished speaking with Bobby Nash. Wow, another round one victory. This guy is an absolute animal. I mean, how impressed are you with Nasty Nash?
Watch his two fights, right? He is on a whole new level. He has really developed in the past year. Unfortunately, under the XFC flag, we're getting the benefit of that inside the Hexagon. Bobby's a star. Ryan Dixon's a tough kid. Before that, Spencer Jebb, tough kid. He's not just walking in and blowing up, some maybes. He's blowing up some tough fighters, and well-deserved. Bobby Nash is a star, and everything about Bobby just shines. So we love it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he stopped smiling that whole interview. He was so happy with just, what he went out there and did. Although he did say that he felt like he wanted to tweak a couple of things moving forward. He said he got hit too much. But I mean, isn't that kind of a case where, look, you're going to get hit when you're going in there against a tough opponent, someone like Ryan Dixon?
Well, Bobby goes for the finish, right? And when you go for a finish, there's some sacrifice going in there, especially if you're up against another tough fighter. And we know with Bobby, his background in wrestling, Michigan State wrestler, just great history there, but it's his hands that have developed. And you know what? Guys are going to get hit. And Bobby got hit and didn't phase him. He just kept going and moving forward. And, I'm not sure what part of the game he's going to work on. Maybe he wasn't happy with his interview with you and figures he has to work on that. But no, Bobby was great. Bobby's, him and all his people are just great to have around the XFC.
Now, you reside in Michigan, so does Bobby Nash. It kind of makes sense that, this next event will be in Michigan, like you said. I mean, he's going to pack the stands regardless of what venue you secure. I mean, you're going to have a ruckus crowd, especially for that 170-pound championship.
We've been working on it the last couple of days, and wait till you see this lineup. We have a lot of Michigan fighters that have had success inside the Hex. We find out on Kenny Cross tomorrow, he gets the medical clearance to move forward. So you put someone like Kenny on that card would be great. And then you take a look at Austin Bashi. He's from the area. We're looking at his brother Avon. Avon's a beast also. He's been injured, but we're looking to get a debut inside the Hexagon for him. You can keep talking about these Michigan fighters for days. They're everywhere, and they're really building a lot of steam.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Now, a few other cards to get to, or a few other fights on this card to get to here. But first, I want to talk about the Larue Burley round 3 KO win over Bradley Desir. And that sets up the 170-pound championship with Mr. Nash we were just talking about. How impressed were you with Larue? I mean, this is another tough guy, a veteran, a former Bellator fighter, a guy that's got a lot of experience under his belt. Were you pleased with what you saw from him?
Larue has always been one of these guys. We know who he is, and that kid's a star, and that kid is finally, getting into the finals, especially in the fashion that he's done it. That's going to be a hell of a match. It's one of these toss-ups because both fighters are just going to keep moving forward, and it's just going to be, the better man's going to be standing at the end. But Larue Burley's a real deal. He probably doesn't get the fanfare that a lot of other fighters have gotten so far, but he just keeps proving himself. And regardless what happens in this finals, both Bobby and Larue are guys that we're looking to keep in the XFC. So.
Yeah, no doubt. I'll tell you what, if I was a rich man and I had a lot of money just to go out there and bet, I would bet that championship fight is not going the distance. Someone's going to get their hand raised via finish. Mark my words. I'm willing. If I had the money, I'd be betting a lot on it. That's all I'm saying.
I would guess you talk to either one of these guys, they're either going to go down or they're going to be the guy standing, and they're okay either way. They both know what it's all about. They're going to put on a show, and you're absolutely right. The way they throw bombs, I don't ever see that one going near the distance. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you there. Now, Kurt Holobaugh, another impressive performance. This guy's a star. You've got quite a few stars on your hands, and he had to probably adjust a little bit because he had a short notice replacement with Verdugo here. How do you look at this if you're in Verdugo's camp, a guy that steps in on short notice to take on such a tough opponent in Kurt Holobaugh?
Well, I think Verdugo's people looked at it the right way. It was an opportunity to become a part of this organization. It was an opportunity to step in with a real upside, with a good performance. And Verdugo's a good fighter. Kurt, like I told Kurt, I think, when we had the fighter meeting afterwards, we were chatting a bit, and I said, man, I don't even know how if you can fight, Kurt. You're only in there for 26 seconds last one. So, the expectations with Kurt, I think he's instilled himself as the favorite in this tournament because of how he's won, right? And he's blown past two good opponents. Verdugo, that kid's a good fighter, but there was no stopping Kurt. Holobaugh just went at him, and it was just this unrelentless pressure. Just as soon as that fight started, he never let off the gas pedal, and certainly got his finish.
Yeah, now he's got DeMonte Robinson up for the championship here.
Yeah.
Stylistically, how do you like this matchup?
I love it. I think it's going to be a banger. DeMonte was awesome to see in there too. He was a late signee as well, taking over Kenny Cross's position in that tournament. And DeMonte came in. I'll tell you what, the kid did exactly what he said he was going to do. He did the same game plan. He said, you're going to see what I got here. And he did a great job putting on a show for us. That's for sure. And, just another one of these kids that, we're just so happy to have him on the roster.
Yeah, you got a couple of fantastic championship bouts coming up here in the 155 and 170 pound weight classes here for XFC 45. Cannot wait. Now, I do got to ask about this heavyweight matchup. I just couldn't help thinking.
Super heavyweight.
Exactly. That's what I was getting at. Like, I can't believe the size of these guys. Brett Martin, UD win over Marino Eaton. And all I could think of was, my God, there was this one guy that I used to have to grapple with when I was in MMA class. And anytime I was on the bottom, I was just trying to breathe. And that's all I could think of if one of these guys was on top of me, because they were massive. How happy were you with what they went out there and did and showcased in the super heavyweight division?
Well, I'll tell you what, 3 rounds at 300 plus pounds apiece. I had to check the scale during the weigh-ins, 301 and 303. I just, I had to check with our guys in operations, how's the hex looking, because once that thing starts rolling, it's going to be a lot of weight in there, about 800 pounds, I guess, with the referee in there as well. So, I was happy. Brett Martin deserved the fight. He's been on the sidelines a long time, and a lot of people have dodged him over the last couple of years, and he just really hasn't had an opportunity. So you're going to see Brett getting better and better as we move forward in his contract and line up more fights with him. And, how about Marino? What's great about Marino Eaton, he's a chef. I don't know if you knew that. That's what he does for his side job, I guess, other than fighting inside a cage. But, both, I was very, very happy because you never know what you're going to get when you put in such large men You know, is it going to be a leaning contest? You know, is it going to be a laying down contest, or they going to get after it? And they got after it pretty darn good, I think. So
How big of a pool do you have to choose from in super heavyweight? Are there a lot of guys out there? Like, how many do you have on the roster right now?
there aren't. You know, we've got the search going right now, and you know, Matt Frendo came up with one today. I'm going to save that till after we have conversations. But one that I really like a lot that'll be a great matchup. We're going to get Brett back in, another Michigan fighter that needs to fight in front of his hometown. They all miss him. But yeah, it's tough. And, you know, probably the toughest part for us right now is we have so much fighter availability in Latin America and in Europe, right? And we just can't get them in, you know, between the visas and everything else. It's been very difficult. So once that opens up a little bit, I think we're going to see that roster change in the heavies and the supers. And the next time Brett fights, he's going to be hitting weight because he's going to fight a heavyweight. It's not going to be in the super category.
Okay. All right. So he'll be cutting down to 265. That'll be exciting to see what's next for Brett Martin. Now, Myron, one fight that I was on the edge of my seat watching every second of every round because I love the stylistic battle of these two youngsters, Austin Bashi, Emmanuel Pugh. Looking down this fight, you know, your golden boy, Austin Bashi. I mean, it's fair to say that that's what he is, right? He gets another win over a tough guy in Emmanuel Pugh. Before we dive into that fight, I know Pugh missed weight, and there was a little bit of I guess, a good story that came out of that with Bobby Nash's camp, I believe. Can you tell anyone that doesn't know what that story was?
Yeah, you know, it was great. It's you know, when you look at the MMA community as a whole, you know, they're there to be fierce competitors, but we're all in this together. And you know, Pugh came in, he got in really late, and he hit the scales about 10 pounds heavy for a 35 battle. And one of the concerns going into that fight for the Bashi camp was Pugh's had a hard time making weight in the past, is what they had claimed. So we took a look at it. He was 10 pounds heavy. His corners hadn't made it in yet, which was, you know, pretty disappointing for us. He didn't really have any help, but I know what Bobby Nash's camp did. His brother, Cruikshank, was involved as well. They helped Kenny Cross back in Atlanta when he was having a hard time with his weight drop there. And they rallied. You know, I took him up to the hotel room, introduced him, said, "Hey, we got to take a run at this. Right now, we don't have a fight." The commission was ready to sanction the fight, but it wasn't right for Austin to accept it at that difference. But the kid got to work, and it was just awesome. You know, the Nash camp really got this kid to a point where it was acceptable in the Bashi side. And in fairness to Bashi, I'll tell you, when he knew the kid missed weight, he pulled me aside and, "Hey, I want the fight. I'm taking the fight. I'm fighting." I said, "Relax. You know, that's not your choice. You have management, you have coaches. We're all going to have a conversation. Let's see what we can do yet." And by the time we hit the limit with the commission, it was an acceptable fight. So,
And looking at how the fight turned out, like, what's your take from both of these youngsters?
I think Emmanuel Pugh is going to have a real upside in the future. I think he's an extremely talented fighter. He's a tough kid. Austin went with a game plan and just smothered him and wouldn't let him get off on his feet, right? So smart game plan. I think we're going to try to get Pugh back in and make sure this kid gets an opportunity to show us what he really has. But just domination by Austin. You say golden boy. Hey, the kid's earned it. It's not like, you know, I'm over here picking favorites. I love all these kids that fight for us. But Austin is something really special, and he's super intelligent. He knew what he had to do. You know, that fight started with a flying knee right to his jaw, you know, snapped his head back, and that woke him up, and he went right to work.
Yeah, and I love how his composure just stayed the same, just very cool, calm, and collected, which I really like about this kid. When you look at some more veteran bantamweights out there, is there someone that you can compare Austin to?
Ooh, you know who I could compare him to, and maybe not, you know, at the 35 class, but Adriano Moraes, great champion from one championship there. Just the demeanor, how humble he is, great kid, outside of the hexagon. Austin's like a 35-year-old veteran. So I would compare Austin to that 35-year-old Austin. Just the kid just gets it, and he doesn't care what the outside noise is. He's there to, do his business. And he's a kid that as we continue to give him this platform, he keeps putting on these great performances. He's a star.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what is next for him. Now, all that MMA talk that we just had, and that's just XFC 44. We haven't even touched Young Guns 2 yet. How happy are you with all the performances for Young Guns 2? Because there were some great fights.
Well, those kids were all great. Both winners and losers. The kids that lost put on a great show for us. Those fights were absolutely exactly what we talk about in the fighter meeting. Exactly what the expectations are when they get inside the hexagon, and these kids came out and they performed. It was almost like comeback night. Those fights turned so quick. Just when you thought, this kid's going to get finished, he spins around, grinds it out, and gets a victory. And probably the biggest one was, with Davey Young, right? Davey Young, just such a huge upside for us, and Jake Kozarowski. Davey was just on fire, to start that fight out, and that it got out of the first round, it was a little surprising for us. But Jake wasn't having it. He kept grinding it out and put on a show the rest of the way. And I think Davey learned a lesson with it as well. He was upset with the loss, and it was a split decision, and Davey felt that he won, but we talked about it afterwards, and then we talked again, and he gets it. He had 3-4 opportunities to finish that bout, and he didn't. And that comes with experience. As everyone says, you either win or you learn. Davey learned in that one, and he's going to come back with a vengeance. I would not want to be the kid standing across the hex next time Davey Young hits it again here.
Yeah. All right. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. One of the, I guess, controversial topics in MMA in general right now is judging decisions. So that's something, regardless of promotion, that is a little bit of an issue. Did you feel that the split decision win went to the right guy that night?
I watched the fight now, I think 4 times, and I can't argue with that decision, really. I felt early on that Davey had won the fight. I still thought that he had won that fight. Then, of course, they announced the decision. I knew I wanted to take a look at it again, but as you watch it a little bit more, I think it was a fair decision. And not that Davey lost that fight. Davey just didn't finish the fight. So, but with the judging, we had some confusing judging going on. Austin and Pugh, just to nail back on that one, it was what, a 30-25, 30-26, and then a 29-28 call by the judge. I'm not sure what they were watching on that. There's one judge that really, as I look at all the cards, we were a little confused what he was watching, but Austin clearly won every round big. And I think Pugh would tell you the same thing. He wasn't expecting a close decision there.
Is there something that you can point towards to maybe fix the judging issues that MMA is having moving forward? Is there anything that comes to mind that you feel like could, fix this problem?
Well, I'll tell you what really helped us when we were in Brazil. We picked our judges, okay? And a lot of people really argue against that and say, that you're basically, picking this kid over that kid and it's not fair. But we learned early on, there was a horrible call in Brazil. And it was very easy to make that change, to making sure that we had people we knew that were educated, we understood how they saw a fight, which is exactly what we want, because when that door closes, as an organization, I don't have a favorite, okay? The organization doesn't say, geez, we sure hope Bashy wins every fight for the rest of his career. We want tough fights and we want them called right. And if you deserve to win, you win. If you deserve to lose, you lose. It's that simple. It's part of the honor being inside the hexagon. So, I think the biggest problem is going from state to state, commission to commission, and you basically get what you get, right? And trying to clean up from the commission standpoint. They either have to do it at the state level, or they have to allow the organizations to have a voice. You know, give me some choices here. Let me see what the history is. You know, how are they looking at this? What's their experience? You know, what's your criteria? You know, who knows? You know, I don't think anyone can say what the criteria is, right? So, you know, it's just from my standpoint, I would like to see the organizations have a little more control, at least options, if not control. So.
Yeah, okay, well said. I like what you're saying there. Now, a lot of UD wins here on this Young Guns 2 card, but you did have a couple of round one finishes, a round one armbar by Cody Lynn and a round one KO by Juan Roman. If you had to pick one of or the other of those two finishes, is there one that's more impressive?
They're both impressive. I'm not gonna, sit there and say, that Cody's was better than Roman's. Roman's was really impressive. His balance, his speed. He's a tough kid, and he really put on a great show. And then I can flip it right over to Cody Lynn. This is 2 times in a row with Cody. This kid just has the confidence of a world champion. Okay, when he goes in, he's not afraid of anything. He just walks in there, he gets right to business, and then he yells at me when he's done and says, "Where's my money? Where's my bonus?" So he's got that, a little bit of cockiness to him, which you never see until it's the right moment. He's just he's a special kid.
Yeah, very diplomatic answer. I knew that's where you're going, but I had to cast it out, Myron, and see what kind of bite I get.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you asked it. Because honestly, Myron's just wavering. He, won't give a straight answer, but I don't know how you can. I think everyone knows I'm a fan of the stand-up banging. Okay, I've never made any secret of that. I prefer Bobby Nash's finish to a slow grinding war, right? I always will, but there is something special about the technician in Cody Lynn, finishing that fight the way that he did. And again with Roman, man, I mean, he did exactly what we asked him to do when he walked inside that cage. So. Yeah.
Now, again, as I mentioned, a lot of UD wins here. Dennis Hughes, Tyson Miller, Addy Belanger, all unanimous decision victories at Young Guns 2. What are the future for those youngsters here in the XFC, maybe in the XFC, or just Young Guns here moving forward?
Well, we got to work right away, and we have to take a look back at, we take a look at what happened in Atlanta and the trials. We look at Oklahoma and the trials, what happened inside the cage. This event right here, we really are starting to define this Young Guns roster. And even the kids that lost, Davey Young, I'm telling you, the kid's going to be a superstar. Yep, he took a loss, but he's such an important part of this roster moving forward. We have to talk to these other kids. Let's make sure we got out of there without an injury. How quick are we going to get them back in? Being that it's a development league, we want to make sure that, the matchups can't be favorable to these kids, kind of like Austin. When you take a look at Austin's first 3 fights in Young Guns, Enzo Perez, tough fight. Ike Bellis, tough fight. And then, of course, Manuel Pugh, tough fight. So there's no gimmies in here. And these kids are rising to the occasion. So I think a lot of these kids that you saw on here, Addy put on a great show as an amateur. Very exciting, another Michigan kid. How about that, Ryan? We're just Michigan kids everywhere. Tyson Miller, finishing off that victory over Navarro. That was big. And that's an excitable kid. I think you're going to see more Tyson inside the Hex too.
Yeah, very good. Now, as far as the Fox app platforms and everything, how did that go? What kind of feedback are you getting from people that can't make it to the event that are watching from home?
Well, I think, like we mentioned, to kick the show off, some problems that we had with some technical difficulty, especially in the sound, So what people have to understand, what are we presenting? When we go live on Fox, that's going to be a finished, beautiful product, okay? And the sound, yeah, it wasn't perfect, but it will improve moving forward. if you're watching on XFC TV, that's as raw as you're going to get it. I mean, it is just raw. There's no commercial breaks. There's, this is the event as we're seeing it right there. And, you're going to see some shots in the camera that you won't see on Fox. And you're going to hear some background noise and voices. And, I'm a fan of a well-placed F-bomb, and you probably heard a few of those on XFC TV as well. But, with our platforms, we're happy. We're working with XFC TV and tense meetings this week to just kind of refine that a little bit more. But the people at Fox are thrilled. The people at HBO are just drooling right now. They can't believe what they saw. So
it's fantastic. A bright, bright future for you, Mr. Molotky, and the XFC promotion and Young Guns for that matter. Now, 45 and Young Guns 3, will that be on the same night as well, or are you going to stagger them a little bit?
Boy, I like it. I'll tell you what. Let me put it to you this way. Fox loves it. HBO really loves it. And from our standpoint, I don't see why we wouldn't, because everyone talks about an undercard or prelims or something like that. And they just try to find some local fighters to maybe move some tickets, local fighters to draw some interest there. I'm not interested in that. What we want to do is give the best product. And if you look in Iowa, we had one kid from Iowa on the card. So, the focus wasn't loading up the car with a bunch of kids to sell tickets. The focus was, let's put out the best product that we can. And we're going to see that again. So I like combining the two events. Fox loves combining the two events. And I think we're going to see much more of that as we move forward. And to answer one more question for you regarding that, we will have some standalone Young Guns events as well, Ryan, because this roster is growing and we're going to keep these kids busy.
Fantastic. Well, the more the better for all of us XFC fans here moving forward in 2021. Now, as far as those next events coming, is there a date that you're zeroing in on? Do you have that kind of dialed in, or are you still working on that with the venue?
We're still working with it. To move forward to Cancun is probably going to be end of September, early October. We're actually working with the government on that one. So picking dates, the venue, I think we're pretty close to defining the venue. As far as rolling back to, August in Michigan, I'm going to be looking at a couple of venues on Tuesday, and we're going to get that one wrapped up and announced as soon as possible, hopefully as early as mid next week.
Fantastic. Well, Myron, again, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Congratulations on another successful night. 2 great cars in one night. I know a lot of people are really excited about what you're doing. Before I do let you go, tell people where to find you guys on social media. And if you have anything you want to plug, the floor is yours.
Well, you know what? With the success of all these events, we're easy to find. XFC MMA on Facebook, and of course XFC official. On all the stuff that I don't use because I'm too old, right, Ryan? So xfcmma.net's our website, and just as they say, Google us, bitch. You'll find us.